everyone, and welcome to Zest to Zen with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that will take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today, it's an absolute honor to welcome Dr. Victoria Wright, a functional medicine practitioner, a consulting medical herbalist, and a passionate women's health expert who has dedicated over a decade to helping women thrive through every stage of their life, especially the transition into menopause, which is a super important topic. Her mission is to empower women to reclaim their vitality and lead with clarity, balance, and confidence. Because as we know, life doesn't just stop when changes happen in our life. So through her personalized natural approaches rooted in both science and soul, her work reminds us that true wellness isn't about fixing ourselves. It's about listening to our bodies, honoring its wisdom, and living in sync with the feminine rhythms. I am so excited for you to meet her. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited.
It's such a pleasure to have you. Just reading your bio and all that you are doing, creating, it's incredible. But something I always love to do is go right back to the start of where did this I guess you could call it a passion or a curiosity. What inspired you to dedicate so much of your time to something so important, I believe?
3, I wanted to be a nurse. And when I was 4, I wanted to be a doctor because doctors earn more money than nurses. I was quite smart even back then.
Very wise.
And then somehow it got lost. And I went off and did some fun stuff, did some research, had a great time, but there was always this sort of will in me to help other people. And sort of coupled with that, when I was a student, actually from the age of 13, so my period started and I was very quickly in pain on a pretty much daily basis. And I went to see a gynecologist and they put me on the pill. And it kind of went away, and then later on, so when I was a student, I was in pain every single day, and I knew something wasn't quite right. And I went to see all sorts of different gynecologists, and I had many of them who were all middle-aged men tell me it was all in my head, or I'd grow out of it, or it was just women's stuff. I mean, these were gynecologists. But fortunately, I had a really good GP who actually said to me, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm going to help you find out. Yeah. And it was only because I'd had a scan, they'd found a cyst, and she said, we don't normally operate, but let's do it because you're in so much pain. And when I went for that cyst removal, they actually found that I had endometriosis. So that was like 8 years later. So that's, 8 years of being in pain every day and being told it's all in my head. And then, so there's a combination of these two things happening, me being in pain and me wanting to help people and not quite finding my way. And I was on a retreat, meditation retreat, and I had a chance conversation with a GP, and the GP said, you'll find what it is you want to do. I was like, okay.
Wow.
By the time I'd got the train home, I was doing a herbal medicine degree just to learn a little bit more. And the rest, as they say, is history, because it's just been a journey from doing the herbal medicine degree, learning more, working with people, finding that actually, we're such a complicated creature. There's our mind, there's our body, and it all has an impact on our health and how we experience life. So, I've studied all sorts of things over the last 10 years, from coaching, contemplative psychology, and functional medicine, which has all kind of brought me to this point of going, actually, I really want to teach women about their hormones.
Wow, amazing. First of all, thank you for not giving in, and I don't always think people generally come from a place of not being empathetic, but I do believe also that, and it's not a gender thing, but it kind of is at the same time, that like, we all laugh at these experiments where we see men and women have it, and then they say, no, it needs to be higher, no, it needs to be a bit more than that. And they could be like, no, it can't be that bad and all this, but it really, even more so when it's a kind of someone you're going to really open your heart and express what you're going through, and then to receive that kind of like almost get over it, like get over it, get on with it. I think this is something, like, I know we can't change the whole world at the right now, but I love that you're doing your part through, unfortunately, what you've gone through, and maybe you might still be going through. But it's almost like you can see how things enter our lives in order to make a change in the world. That unfortunately you had to experience that pain every day, and maybe there's even times where it came like a norm, which is wrong, because there's no like, oh, okay, you can come in at this time, or this. There's nothing that is different between the two roles. It's like, ooh, stay out of her way today. She's in a funny mood, and like, even though people say it with the most the humor, and just to not make a big thing, we laugh about it, but actually no, we really need to become more compassionate about this. And it's not now saying, okay, women only work this hours or this, but I just think we just need this empathy and compassion. Like, actually, could you be on that machine and function at your highest? And again, I 100% know that men equally have a lot of pressure, a lot on their shoulders in a different way that isn't maybe always as physically painful, but maybe mentally painful. So it isn't a war of the sexes and all this, but I do think this is a really important conversation to have, because also, and I would love your take on this, as someone who is deeply holistic, and as much as possible, I don't really like putting anything in my body if I don't have to, because I really like to tune in and listen to actually my body. But I also know that someone recently who's going through menopause was doing the wanting to do it without any medication, and then it came to a point where she really needed medication. And I think we really need to address this, because even with me, when I was on a pill, I was like a completely different person. Like, I would have this rage, I would have this impatience. And the moment I cleared my body of all of this, I found me. But unfortunately, like with your example, when you're going through that pain, which, I've had different things, but I haven't really had a pain. That option may not have been the way for me. So I would love you to elaborate on this.
I mean, certainly when I was going through that experience, the options to me were the pill, or there's a treatment for endometriosis, which is where they put you in a fake menopause and then put you on HRT. And that was my option, and I did it. And like you, I felt horrendous on it. The treatment was far worse than being in pain. But actually, it was when I went and found herbal medicine that I was, I was, there we go, research scientist, rocks up at the student clinic, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be an experiment. I'm in pain all the time. Let's see. I was so skeptical about herbal medicine. I was like, let's see what you can do. And within 3 months, I went from being in pain every single day to being completely pain-free.
Wow.
And it was just incredible.
It
was just unbelievable. And I think had I not had that experience personally, I'd probably still be massively skeptical about herbal medicine. And there's still part of me that really is skeptical about herbal medicine, but I see it and I've experienced the massive impact that it can have. And you mentioned about wanting to do things naturally, and about like the sexism that exists within healthcare, and unfortunately it still does exist, although it's getting much better. But unfortunately the only thing that your doctor can offer you is some form of hormone. Estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, that's all that they can offer you for any sort of women's health related condition. But what I try to do through my webinars is to teach women about their hormones, because actually it's not just about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It's about your thyroid function, your blood sugar regulation, your cortisol, which is related to your stress. And all of these have a massive impact on whether or not you have problems with your periods or problems with your menopause. And we're not taught that. And it's like, why aren't we taught this stuff at school? My workshop's called Hormones, What They Should Have Taught You at School. Because actually we should be teaching this in school, because it's really foundational and important to understand, not so that you can just manage things naturally, because when things go wrong, you can then go into your doctors and advocate for yourself with some knowledge and not just be fobbed off.
I think that's super important what you're saying, because like what you're saying is we go in, but we have no idea what we're going in to express or know about, because like what you say, we haven't had the education. Whereas if we had that education and we had the access to an incredible webinar by someone like you who's gone through it, and others who are also doing incredible work in this field, you can go in more with a knowledge and a knowing, and be in a more empowered state, instead of just just take this, you'll feel better. And then and the other thing is, again, even the selection of pills, there's not even awareness of that, or the different options. So like, I remember it was just take this, that's it. And I remember it had such huge implications at the time on my relationships. And it was like, she's a feisty one, she's this, and I'm not. Like, the moment I connected back to me and cleared my body, just because I felt that's something I wanted to do, I'm actually a very calm, very, very easygoing, very peaceful person. But that stage of me, and age as well, I was like up and down and like hot and cold, and I actually think, like, to watch it would have been made a beautiful, like, funny movie, but it was my life, like, and whether those relationships cracked because of what I was experiencing in my body, I don't know. But we really need to, like, I know we can laugh about it, but it's actually really important, I think.
And it's actually, yes, it's funny, and we can make jokes about leaving your glasses in the fridge and going out with 2 skirts on, which I've also heard. But actually it's also really heartbreaking, because there are so many women who feel unsupported, and they'll go to their GP, and it'll either be take these hormones, which can have negative side effects as well, or nothing. They don't teach about, well, maybe look at what you're eating, maybe look at the stress in your life, maybe there's some work to do there, or let's look at if there's any nutritional deficiencies that are affecting things like your thyroid, or affecting your liver clearance, because we don't think actually supporting our liver is hugely important for hormone health. It's just, none of this is taught, and being able to then go, okay, well, yes, the pill's there, or HRT is there for if it gets really, really bad, but I'm going to try all of these things first. I'm going to try all of this other stuff before I get to that point. And that's not me saying don't take HRT or don't go on the pill. I've done both. But make that choice informed.
Absolutely. And there's the opposite of, like, I feel like there's almost this programming of what as well of that you're careless and you're reckless if you decide not to take a pill, and you could, and so then there's so much in the mindset of, like, you could get pregnant, this could happen. And so even the opposite was like a transition for me of, like, anyway, there's so much we could go into, but just focusing back on menopause, because I know we went off a little bit, because that's something that I obviously can only deeply relate to right now, but I want to really make sure that we're offering advice and insights into women maybe that are doing a particular route and maybe would be interested in exploring more holistic. What kind of maybe signs or what steps would you advise for those women?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a very big question.
Yeah, I feel like I asked you too, which was really unkind. Sorry.
It's absolutely fine. I'm just thinking it's just such a big topic.
And it's, I guess, personalised to every woman, isn't it? But
exactly.
Yeah.
But also, we tend to think of it when we hit 50. I mean, I went into menopause very, very early. And actually, I started noticing changes as soon as I hit 40. And what you do when you're 40 will have an impact on your health when you're 50.
Wow.
So if you want to have a healthy menopause, then actually start understanding your own body. Start noticing what helps and supports you versus what drains you, and really understand if there are any nutritional deficiencies. So I offer some functional testing. One which I really like is a DNA test. It's a medical DNA test, not where you're from kind of DNA test. And it's really nice because it shows you where there are risks for your health based on your DNA, and it tells you as well what you can do to change that. So we tend to think of DNA as being fixed, and actually we can change the expression of our genes. So that can be through different nutrients. So really understanding your own genetic makeup, really understanding your own lifestyle and how that's impacting on you, and trusting your body and what your body is telling you. The biggest thing that I get all of my patients to do is to just check in with themselves. Just even if it's just a couple of minutes at the end of the day, just go, okay, how's today been? How's my body doing? How am I doing emotionally? Just take a moment to just reflect on your day. And if there's something that's coming up each day as being an issue, then go, okay, what do I need to do about that? And it's just gathering evidence. It's gathering lots of different information about how your body works and what it likes, because it may not like certain foods. It may not like waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. It may, there's all sorts of different things that you personally, will experience in your life. So understanding that and then trusting it, so that when things start to change, it's not normal for you. And then you can advocate going, but this isn't normal for me. Because people, that there is a tendency to be dismissive and going, if you start suddenly waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning where you don't normally, you'd be like, oh, well, I've been waking up at 5 o'clock, and people will go, oh, well, that's just waking up at 5 o'clock. It's just summer or whatever. But it could be, it could be actually cortisol that's rising too early. And that's not normal for you. So it's just really trusting that you know your own body and that you know when it's changing.
Very wise, yeah. It's that, and I guess, like, to maybe add to that, like, of course we have our commitments, so it doesn't mean that, like, you know, we're just going to be like, no, this is not for me anymore. But it's just that awareness, isn't it? Like what you say, it's just that awareness, and just really going back to yourself and thinking, okay, I wonder how this has entered my life now. Like, what did I do prior to this? I think that's really valuable advice. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation. And when you, because I know that the word holistic can be many things. How would you define like a holistic approach, if you can? If that
To be honest with you, I really don't like the word holistic, and I think it's just because it's been overused massively.
I feel like half of these words, though, like something enters the field and then it's like so overused that it's like, but yeah, okay, more natural, a more natural transition.
I'm going to define holistic for you. So for me, holistic is everything. It is the whole. So it's looking at your body, and the body can be how your hormones, so that's what I think of, but it could also be what you eat, how you sleep, whether you exercise, your lifestyle, which kind of surrounds your body, but also your emotions as well, because our emotions have a huge impact on our physical health. So, that could be, periods of stress. It could be finding moments of joy. We tend to think of stress a lot, but actually finding glimmers, little tiny moments of joy in our life is really important. And then that comes down to our mindset as well. So what we think affects how we feel. So then thinking about, what we think. And then, I'm quite a spiritual person. So coming back to our soul, or our spiritual health. And that doesn't mean you have to believe a certain thing. If you're Christian, be a Christian. If you're a Buddhist, be a Buddhist. If you're Jewish, be a Jew. To name just a few religions, there are others. If you're agnostic and don't believe in anything, that's also fine. But it's about having that sense of purpose, that sense of higher self, whatever that looks like for you. And that doesn't mean to be some grand vision. It could just be you want to be there to support your family, and that gives you purpose. Or it could be that you want to do really well at your job, and that gives you purpose. It can be simple things that you can find purpose in, but somehow connecting with that is important as well.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, Dr. Victoria. And so just before, how can people reach out to you, and what do you have to offer?
You can find me on my website, thelivingherb.com. You're welcome to contact me by email, victoria@thelivingherb.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, so you can find me there too. And I offer to anybody a 30-minute call. It's just a time if you've got a health issue that you want to explore and you feel like you're not getting the time that you need, it's just a genuine offer to come have a conversation. I will do everything in my power to help you find a way forward. And then if you're interested in hormones, come along to my workshop. It's usually advertised on my website, but you can find it on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, come along, learn about hormones. This will be the best thing that you can do for your life, is learn about hormones.
Absolutely. And I truly, more than what you're offering, I feel your heart behind it all, and it's absolutely beautiful. It doesn't have to be related, it could just be anything that comes to your mind. But something I always just love my guests to do at the end is just say, off the top of your head, whatever comes through that you believe that someone listening right now would really benefit from hearing, what would you tell them?
Trust your own body. Trust what it's telling you.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. I've really enjoyed this. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you're an absolute diamond. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely having a conversation with you.
You're so welcome.